You sent her $80,000 while I was paying your mother's hospital bills? He didn't even look guilty, just calm. You weren't supposed to find out. That's when everything inside me shifted. My name is Danielle Brooks, and I'm 34 years old. I worked as a billing coordinator at a small clinic. It was steady work, nothing fancy, but it was honest. I handled the finances in our marriage. I tracked every dollar carefully, especially after his mother got sick and the bills started piling up. I wasn't rich or glamorous. I was the responsible one, the loyal one, the one who believed we were building something real, brick by brick. My husband, Eric, always laughed and said I worried too much about money. He said I should relax. I thought we were a team. I really did. I thought sacrifice meant the same thing to both of us. So we lived modestly. We skipped vacations. We told ourselves we'd buy a house later, when things settled. All to stay afloat. Meanwhile, I trusted him completely. No secret accounts, no second guessing. Or at least that's what I told myself every night. Looking back, the signs were there. The late nights at the office, the phone that was always face down, the sudden work emergencies. But I ignored them because I believed in us, because I believed in him. I wasn't the kind of woman people underestimated loudly. I was the kind they overlooked quietly. And that was their biggest mistake. If you've ever trusted someone with everything, your money, your time, your heart, only to feel blindsided later, hit subscribe. Tell me your story in the comments. And if you've ever ignored red flags because you believed in love, click hype. Let's talk about it. The day it started, I was at work entering payment adjustments when a bank alert popped up on my phone. $80,000 transferred. My first thought was fraud. My hands went cold. I called the bank from the supply closet and my voice shook. The woman on the line was polite. She asked for verification. Then she said the transaction was authorized this morning by an account holder. By Eric. I drove home without turning on the radio. My chest felt tight. When I walked in, Eric was in the kitchen making coffee like it was any other day. I held up my phone. Tell me this is a mistake. He barely looked at me. It's not what you think. I hated that sentence immediately. I asked him who got the money. He said it was a loan to a friend who needed help. I said, "What friend?" He hesitated. That pause told me everything. I grabbed his phone off the counter before he could stop me. The messages were right there. Heart emojis, hotel confirmations. Miss you already. Then one that made my stomach drop. You said your wife would never notice. I looked up at him. Your friend? He rubbed his face and got defensive. She actually appreciates me. You just manage money like it's your whole personality. The air in the kitchen felt thin. Then I checked the account again and saw where the money came from. A joint emergency fund. The fund I built piece by piece for his mother's treatment. Before I could speak, his phone rang. He answered on speaker without thinking. It was his mother. Her voice was weak. Eric, the clinic called. They said my next treatment hasn't been paid. Is something wrong? I didn't move. I didn't breathe. He looked at me, and for the first time I saw fear in his eyes. He tried to minimize everything. It's just money. You're overreacting. He said I was cold. He said I was controlling, and that's why he pulled away. I cried that first night in the bathroom with the shower running so he wouldn't hear me. A few days later, we went to a small family dinner at his sister Renee's house. I didn't want to go, but I needed to see who knew what. Eric told a different version of the story at the table. He laughed while he told it. Danielle is obsessed with money. She's pushing me away. Renee nodded and gave me that fake soft voice. Men need space, Danielle. You can't control everything. I sat there with food going cold on my plate while they looked at me like I was the problem. Nobody asked about the missing money. Nobody asked about the other woman. They just decided I was the reason. I felt my face burn. Then I started noticing more things. Smaller transfers over months. Cash withdrawals that didn't match anything. When I asked, he said I was imagining patterns. One morning I tried to log into a shared account and my access was gone. He had locked me out. Something inside me changed that day. The crying stopped. I opened a separate account at a different bank. I redirected my paycheck. I started saving every statement and screenshot. When he asked why I was so quiet, I looked at him and said, "I'm not asking anymore, Eric. I'm verifying." What they didn't know was that I work with numbers all day. Patterns don't lie, people do. I started reviewing old phone bills and bank records at night at the dining table. The apartment smelled like stale coffee and printer paper. I built a timeline on a legal pad. His work emergencies lined up with calls to the same number over and over, late afternoons, past midnight, early mornings. There was a rhythm to it. Then I matched those call times to the bank transfers. The timing was too perfect, too clean. Then I noticed something odd. Some of the calls weren't to the girlfriend. They were to an unknown number. I searched the number and found complaints tied to short-term money scams. My stomach dropped. This wasn't just an affair, it was organized. I backed up everything: messages, bank transfers, call logs. I made copies and stored them in a locked drawer at the clinic. I stopped being his wife in that moment and became someone he should have feared. The first person who saw it was Lisa, Eric's cousin. She was the black sheep of the family, the one who never played along. After the dinner, she caught me by my car. Something about his story didn't sit right with me, she said. Then she told me Eric had borrowed $5,000 from her 3 months ago for a contractor deposit. We sat in her car and compared dates on our phones. The dates overlapped with one of the transfers. Another lie. Lisa didn't give me pity. She gave me facts. Over the next week, we met after work and traced the unknown number together. We found it was tied to a man named in fraud complaints. Lisa said, "He's not just cheating, he's running something." Meanwhile, Eric got more arrogant. He thought he'd won because I stopped yelling. He spent money freely again. His family assumed I would get over it. They thought I was breaking. I was actually building a case. I called a family discussion for Sunday evening in our living room. I invited Eric, Renee, his mother, and Lisa. Eric smirked when he heard the word discussion. "What now?" he asked. I said, "I think we should clear everything up today." When everyone sat down, Eric dropped into the armchair like it was a boring meeting. I placed a folder on the coffee table. "Before anyone interrupts, I want you to listen." Eric laughed. "Danielle, please." I opened the folder. I laid out the bank transfers first, then the call logs, then the timeline. I spoke clearly. "You didn't just send money to her. You moved it through 3 accounts first. And this number, it's linked to fraud reports." Renee picked up a paper and her face changed. His mother looked scared. Eric sat up straight. "You went through my private stuff?" I looked at him. "No, I followed the truth." Lisa put her own copies on the table. "He asked me for money too. Same pattern, different lie." Then I played the recorded call logs from our shared account. His voice filled the room, talking about transfers and timing and keeping me off the trail. Nobody spoke for seconds. You could hear the clock ticking on the wall. Then Renee whispered, "You used all of us?" His mother covered her mouth. Eric stood up fast and shouted that I was twisting everything. I stood too, calm. "No," I said. "I'm ending everything." He pointed at me, angry now. "You think you're better than me because you pay bills?" I looked him in the eye. "You thought I was just the one who paid the bills. I was the one keeping you from falling apart." I left the marriage 2 weeks later. I left with copies of every document and legal advice and my own bank account. I reported what needed to be reported. I protected myself. I stopped confusing loyalty with self-erasure. Some family members apologized. Others stayed distant. Lisa stayed by my side. Eric faced consequences, both legal and social. I learned that trust is not weakness, but blind trust can be dangerous. They thought I was just surviving, but I was learning how to see everything clearly. If someone you trusted ever betrayed you financially or made you feel crazy for asking questions, you're not alone. Share your story in the comments. I want to hear how you handled it. Subscribe to connect with others who face the same kind of deception. Thank you for listening to my story. If it moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe if you haven't already. And remember, your worth is not determined by the people who failed to see it. It's determined by what you do when you finally see it yourself.